The dragon egg cracked open at exactly 3 in the afternoon, and Owen knew right away something was different about this one. He sat cross-legged on the warm floor of the nursery dome, watching 6 other hatchlings stumble around on wobbly legs. They were already trying to breathe fire, sending little puffs of smoke into the air. Their handlers cheered each attempt, making notes on their tablets. This was what dragon hatchlings did. This was normal. The bronze egg in front of Owen split down the middle. A small snout pushed through, then a head, then an entire body tumbled out onto the soft bedding. The dragon was smaller than the others, with scales that gleamed like old copper coins. Its eyes were too large for its head, dark and curious. Owen waited for the fire. All dragons breathe fire within their first hour. It was instinct like breathing. The small dragon sat up. It looked at the other hatchlings practicing their flames. It tilted its head to one side. Then it turned away and stared directly at Owen instead. "Come on, little one," Owen said quietly. He held up a training target, a metal disc that would reflect the first flames. "Give it a try." The dragon ignored the disc. It crawled forward on clumsy legs, closing the distance between them. When it reached Owen's knee, it stopped. It studied his face with those enormous eyes. Owen felt something strange happen in his chest. The dragon was looking at him the way a student looked at a teacher. Not with fear or hunger or instinct. With interest. "You should be breathing fire," Owen told the dragon. He glanced around the nursery. The other handlers were busy with their hatchlings. No one was watching his failure yet. The dragon made a soft chirping sound. It reached out one small claw and touched Owen's hand. The touch was gentle, almost careful. Owen had been working at the breeding station for 2 years. He had helped raise 40 dragons. None of them had ever touched him like this on their first day. Dragons were born knowing how to hunt, how to fight, how to survive. They were not born knowing how to be gentle. "Reyna is going to kill me," Owen muttered, a S if summoned by her name. The head trainer appeared beside him. Reyna was tall and efficient, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked down at the small bronze dragon with a frown. "No fire yet. No fire yet," Owen confirmed. "How long has it been?" 20 minutes. Reyna knelt down and clapped her hands sharply in front of the dragon's face. The hatchling should have startled, should have reflexively coughed up flames. Instead, it turned to look at Reyna with that same curious expression. It chirped again. "Defective," Reyna said. She stood up and brushed off her knees. "Tag it for removal. We will send it back to the genetic lab." "Wait." The word came out before Owen could stop it. "Give me some time." "Time for what?" "Dragons either breathe fire or they do not. This is not something we can teach. Maybe it just needs encouragement. Maybe it is shy." Reyna's expression softened slightly. She had known Owen since he arrived at the station, knew why he had left Earth, knew about the loss that had driven him to the outer colonies. She was strict, but not cruel. "You have 30 days, she said finally. "If this dragon cannot perform basic functions by then, it goes back to the lab. We cannot waste resources on failures." Owen nodded. 30 days. I can work with that." Reyna walked away to check on the other hatchlings. Owen looked down at the small bronze dragon, still sitting by his knee. It had not moved during the entire conversation. It was still watching his face. "You heard that, right? 30 days to figure out how to breathe fire, or you are gone." The dragon blinked slowly. It made a low humming sound in its throat. Owen reached down and carefully picked up the hatchling. It was warm in his hands, surprisingly light. He carried it to a private training room at the edge of the nursery complex. The room was small and quiet, with padded walls and basic equipment. He set the dragon down on a soft mat. "Okay, let me try this properly." Owen grabbed a fire-starting demonstration kit from a shelf. He set up a small pile of kindling in a metal bowl. "See this? Dragons breathe fire. You are a dragon, so you breathe fire. Simple." The dragon walked past the kindling. It walked past the metal bowl. It walked right up to Owen and sat down at his feet, looking up. "You are supposed to be interested in the fire," Owen said. The dragon tilted its head the other way. Owen sat down on the floor with a sigh. His tablet buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and saw a message from his brother back on Earth. There was a photo attached. His brother's family at a birthday party. His niece had turned 5. That Owen's sister would have been 23 next month. He stared at the photo longer than he meant to. His brother's family was happy. They had moved on. They had learned to smile again after the colony collapse, after the accident, after everything. Owen had not moved on. He had run away to the furthest station he could find and spent his days raising dragons instead of dealing with his own life. Something wet hit his hand. Owen blinked and realized his eyes were damp. He wiped his face quickly, embarrassed even though no one was watching. Except the dragon was watching. The small bronze hatchling had moved closer. It was staring at Owen's face with intense focus, its head tilted at an angle. It made a quiet, questioning sound, almost like a whimper. "I am fine," Owen said, "just looking at pictures." The dragon crept forward until it was pressed against Owen's leg. It made the humming sound again, softer this time. Owen reached down and touched the top of the dragon's head. The scales were smooth and warm. The dragon leaned into his palm. They sat together in the quiet training room as the afternoon light faded. The dragon never once tried to breathe fire. It just stayed close, humming softly, watching Owen's face like it was trying to memorize every expression. Owen did not know it yet, but this was the beginning of something neither the station nor the galaxy had ever seen before. This was the moment a dragon decided it wanted to learn a different kind of lesson. Not how to burn, how to understand. 12 days passed, and the dragon still refused to breathe fire. Owen named him Copper because of his bronze scales, though Raina said naming a defective specimen was a waste of time. The other handlers agreed. They walked past the private training room and shook their heads. Some of them made jokes about Owen and his broken dragon. Owen stopped paying attention to them. He had bigger problems. Copper would not eat properly. Dragons were supposed to tear into raw meat with enthusiasm, establishing their predator instincts early. Copper would sniff the food, take a small bite, then walk away. He ate just enough to survive and nothing more. Copper would not practice hunting. Owen set up moving targets, activated holographic prey simulations, even brought in live insects. Copper watched everything with mild interest, but never pounced, never chased, never showed any aggression at all. Copper would not fly in formation. The other young dragons had already learned basic aerial maneuvers. Copper could fly, but he preferred to stay on the ground near Owen. When Owen walked around the station, Copper followed 3 steps behind like a shadow. What Copper did do was he watched everything Owen did. When Owen ate lunch, Copper sat beside him and studied how he held his fork. When Owen worked on his tablet, Copper peered at the screen with fascination. When Owen talked to other people, Copper observed the conversations like he was trying to decode a language. On the 13th day, Owen decided to try something different. He sat down on the training room floor and just talked. "I had a sister," Owen said. Copper immediately moved closer, settling into his usual spot against Owen's leg. Her name was Sophie. She was 7 years younger than me. When our parents died, I raised her. It was just the two of us for a long time. Copper made a soft chirping sound. His eyes were fixed on Owen's face. We joined a colony ship together. New world, fresh start, the whole dream. But there was an accident during the landing. Life support failure in her section. I was in a different part of the ship. Owen stopped, his throat tight. By the time I got there, it was too late. 53 people died that day. Sophie was one of them. Copper shifted position. He pressed his head against Owen's side. I could not stay on Earth after that. Too many memories. So I came out here to the furthest station I could find. I thought if I kept busy enough, kept moving enough, I would not have to think about it. The dragon made a new sound, something Owen had not heard before. It was low and mournful, almost like crying. Owen looked down in surprise. Copper was staring up at him, and the dragon's large eyes looked impossibly sad. Not just aware that Owen was upset, actively reflecting that sadness back. "Can you understand me?" Owen asked quietly. Copper tilted his head. He reached up with one claw and very gently touched Owen's chest, right over his heart. Something shifted in that moment. Owen realized he had been approaching this all wrong. He had been trying to teach Copper to be a normal dragon. But Copper was not interested in being normal. Copper was interested in something else entirely, that he was interested in feelings. Owen started a new kind of training that day. Instead of fire-breathing exercises and hunting simulations, he taught Copper about emotions. He showed him happy videos and sad videos. He played him music that made people cry. He read him stories with tragic endings. Copper absorbed everything. Within 3 days, the dragon could distinguish between different types of distress. When Owen played a video of someone laughing, Copper's posture relaxed and he made bright chirping sounds. When Owen played a video of someone grieving, Copper lowered his head and hummed that mournful tone. The dragon was learning a language, just not the one anyone expected on day 18. Something happened that changed everything. Owen was running errands in the station's main corridor when he heard shouting. A maintenance worker named Felix was sitting on the floor with his head in his hands, surrounded by scattered tools. His supervisor stood over him, yelling about missed deadlines and incompetent work. Copper, who had been walking behind Owen as usual, suddenly broke away. He trotted directly to Felix and sat down beside him. The supervisor stopped yelling. "What is that dragon doing?" Owen hurried over. "Copper, come here." But Copper did not come. He stayed next to Felix, who had looked up in surprise. The dragon made soft humming sounds and very carefully placed one claw on the man's knee. Felix stared at the dragon. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. It was a tired, broken sound. "Even the dragons think I am pathetic." "He does not think you are pathetic," Owen said. He knelt down beside them. "I think he knows you are upset." "Upset? I am a mess. My daughter is sick, and I cannot afford the medical bills. I've been taking extra shifts, but I am so tired, I keep making mistakes. Now I'm going to lose this job too." Copper made that mournful sound again. He leaned against Felix's side, offering warmth and presence. Felix reached out slowly and touched Copper's scales. "He's really just sitting here with me." "Yes," Owen said. "That is what he does." They stayed there for several minutes. The supervisor had wandered off, suddenly uncomfortable. Other station workers passed by and gave them strange looks. But Felix kept his hand on Copper's back, and some of the tension drained from his shoulders. "I feel a little better," Felix said finally. "That is weird, right? A dragon made me feel better." "Not that weird," Owen said. After Felix left, Owen picked up Copper and carried him back to the training room. The dragon was tired, his eyes half closed. Owen set him down on the soft mat. "You are not a failure," Owen told him. "You are just different. And maybe different is exactly what people need." Copper yawned, showing rows of small teeth that had never once breathed fire. Then he curled up in a ball and went to sleep, his sides rising and falling with steady breaths. Owen sat down next to him and made notes on his tablet. 18 days left. He had to prove to Reyna that this dragon had value. But watching Copper sleep, remembering the look on Felix's face, Owen thought maybe he already had his proof. Some dragons were born to fight. This one was born to heal. The emergency alarm woke Owen at 4 in the morning. He jolted upright in his quarters, immediately reaching for his tablet. Red text scrolled across the screen. A child was missing. Last seen near the maintenance sector. Parents requesting all available personnel. Owen was pulling on his boots when he heard scratching at his door. He opened it and found Copper sitting in the hallway, wide awake and alert. The dragon pushed past him into the room. "You should be in the nursery," Owen said. Copper ignored him. The dragon was sniffing the air, his head turning toward the corridor. He made an urgent chirping sound. "I have to go help search for a kid. You need to stay here." Copper bolted out the door. "Copper, wait." Owen ran after him, but the dragon was faster than he looked. He scrambled down the corridor, claws clicking on the metal floor, moving with purpose. Owen chased him through 3 sections of the station. Other crew members were emerging from their quarters, joining the search. Owen could hear the child's mother crying somewhere in the distance, could hear security coordinating on their radios. Copper stopped at the entrance to a maintenance shaft. He sat down and looked back at Owen, making that urgent sound again that a security officer approached. "Keep your dragon out of the way. We have got people checking the shafts." "How small are the shafts?" Owen asked. "Too small for us. We're sending drones in." Owen looked at Copper, who was staring at the shaft entrance with intense focus. "How small is too small?" 30 centimeters diameter in some sections. "What?" Owen knelt down next to Copper. The dragon turned to look at him, and Owen saw something in those large eyes. Understanding. Purpose. You know she's in there, Owen said quietly. Copper chirped once, firmly. Owen stood up and faced the security officer. My dragon can fit. Let him try. That is against protocol. We do not send animals into dangerous situations. She is an 8-year-old girl who has been missing for 3 hours. Do you have a better idea? The security officer hesitated, then spoke into his radio. A minute later, Raina arrived, looking exhausted and worried. She listened to Owen's proposal. If that dragon gets stuck, we will have 2 emergencies instead of 1, she said. He will not get stuck. Look at him. He knows what he is doing. They all looked at Copper. The dragon sat perfectly still, waiting patiently, his eyes on the shaft entrance. Raina made a decision. Do it, but you are responsible for whatever happens. Owen attached a small camera to a strap around Coppa's neck. He knelt down and looked the dragon in the eyes. Find her. Be gentle. Do not scare her. Copper touched his nose to Owen's hand. Then he turned and squeezed into the maintenance shaft. Owen watched on a monitor as Copper moved through the narrow tunnel. The camera showed darkness, metal walls, tangles of pipes and cables. The dragon moved carefully, pulling himself forward with his claws. Several times the shaft narrowed and Copper had to flatten his body to squeeze through. After 10 minutes of crawling, the camera picked up a sound. Crying, Copper stopped moving. The crying got louder. Then a child's voice, terrified and hoarse. Stay away. Do not come closer. On the monitor, Owen could see a small figure huddled in a junction where 3 shafts met. A girl with dark hair and a torn jumpsuit. Her name was Lily. She had wandered into the shafts during a game of hide and seek and gotten lost in a maze. Copper made a soft sound, barely audible over the radio. Lily screamed. Go away. You are going to eat me. Owen grabbed the radio. Copper, stop. Do not move. But Copper did not stop. He moved closer, very slowly, his body low to the ground. Lily pressed herself against the wall. Please do not hurt me. Then Copper did something that made everyone watching the monitor go silent. The dragon sat down and started to cry. Not real tears, but the closest thing a dragon could manage. He made small whimpering sounds, high and distressed. His whole body seemed to shrink, making himself look smaller, less threatening. He tucked his head down and made himself vulnerable. Lily stopped screaming. She stared at the dragon. Why are you crying? Copper whimpered again. He looked up at her with those enormous eyes, and his expression was pure sadness. Are you scared too? Lily asked, her voice smaller now. Copper made a soft affirmative sound. I did not know dragons could be scared. Copper crawled a little closer, still making those sad sounds. Lily did not pull away this time. She watched him with fascination. I have been in here for so long, Lily whispered. It is so dark. I could not find the way out. Copper moved to sit beside her. Not touching, just close. He was warm, and in the cold metal shaft, that warmth was comforting. He started humming, the same mournful sound Owen had heard before. Lily reached out carefully and touched Coppa's scales. You are warm. They sat together in the dark for several minutes. On the monitor, Owen watched as Lily gradually relaxed. The fear drained from her face. She leaned against Coppa's side. Can you help me get out? She asked. The Coppa's throat began to glow with a soft light. Not fire, just a gentle bioluminescence that Owen had never seen before. It lit up the shaft with a pale golden radiance. Lily gasped. You are beautiful. Copper stood up and started walking back the way he had come, glancing over his shoulder to make sure Lily followed. The little girl crawled after him, guided by his light. It took 20 minutes to navigate back through the shafts. When Copper finally emerged at the entrance, Lily right behind him, her parents rushed forward with cries of relief. Lily grabbed onto Copper and refused to let go. He saved me, she told her mother. He was scared too, but he still came to help me. Owen pulled Copper away gently. The dragon was exhausted, his breathing heavy. But when Owen picked him up, Copper made a pleased chirping sound. Raina stood nearby, watching everything. Her expression was unreadable. Later that night, after Lily had been checked by medical and reunited with her family, Raina found Owen in the training room. Copper was asleep on his mat, still glowing faintly. That was remarkable, Rhaenys said. He knew she needed someone who understood being afraid. Owen replied. You have 9 days left to prove his value. I think you just did. Owen looked down at Copper, the small dragon who refused to learn fire, who wanted something different. He is not broken, Owen said. He is just honest. Rhaena nodded slowly. Maybe that is what we need more of. She left without another word. Owen sat down next to Copper and rested his hand on the dragon's warm side. You did good today, he whispered that Coppa's glow brightened just slightly, then faded as he fell in a deeper sleep. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tonight, they just rested. The video of Copper rescuing Lily spread through the Galactic network within 48 hours. Someone had posted the security footage. Within a day, it had been viewed 30 million times. Within 2 days, news agencies across 12 systems were running stories about the dragon who cried with a frightened child. Messages flooded the station's communication channels. Researchers wanted to study Copper. Media outlets wanted interviews. Parents wanted to know if they could bring their children to meet him. Owen tried to keep life normal, but normal was gone on the 3rd day after the rescue. A woman arrived at the station unannounced. Her name was Dr. Yuna, and she worked for the Galactic Council's Health and Wellness Division. She had gray skin, for arms, and eyes that saw everything. She was also the most important person Owen had ever met. She found him in the training room with Copper. The dragon was playing with a softball, batting it back and forth with Owen in a lazy game. I need to understand what you did, Dr. Yuna said without introduction. Owen stood up. I did not do anything. Copper did it all himself. That is not what I mean. Dr. Yuna sat down on the floor without asking permission. Copper immediately walked over to investigate her. I mean, how did you teach a predator species to feel empathy? I did not teach him to feel it. I think he always felt it. I just did not try to train it out of him. Dr. Yuna watched as Copper sniffed her hands, then sat down beside her. May I touch him? He will let you know if he does not want to be touched. She reached out slowly and ran one hand over Coppa's scales. The dragon leaned in her touch, making please sounds. Dr. Yuna's expression softened. There is a crisis happening across the galaxy, she said. Depression, anxiety, isolation. It is affecting every spacefaring species. We have therapists and medications and treatment programs, but none of it works the way we hoped. Do you know why? Owen shook his head. Because most species evolved to suppress emotion. Predators see feelings as weakness. Prey species see them as dangerous distractions. When we went to space, we brought that suppression with us. We built societies that value strength and efficiency over vulnerability. She looked at Copper. Humans are different. We feel things, Owen said quietly. You do more than feel. You process. You share. You sit with pain instead of running from it. When a human is sad, other humans ask why. When a Dracian is sad, other directions tell them to be stronger. Do you see the difference? Owen thought about his own grief, about how he had run from it. I'm not sure humans are that good at it either. But you try. That is what matters. Dr. Yuna stood up, and Copper made a disappointed sound at losing her touch. I want to propose something. A pilot program. We train more dragons like Copper. Not for war or security. For emotional support. You want therapy dragons. I want companions who can do what Copper does. Who can sit with people in their pain. Who can show them it is safe to feel. Dr. Yuna pulled out a tablet and showed Owen charts and graphs. Suicide rates are climbing. Substance abuse is epidemic. Families are fracturing. We are losing people not to disease or violence, but to loneliness. And I think what Copper offers might be part of the answer. Owen looked at the dragon, who was now chewing on his ball with content concentration. What would this program involve? You would lead it, train other handlers, develop methods. We would start small, maybe a dozen dragons. If it works, we expand. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a guy who got lucky with one weird dragon. You are a human who understands grief, Dr. Yuna said. You know what it is like to need someone to just sit with you in the dark. That is more valuable than any degree. Owen sat down heavily on a bench. This would mean staying here, not going back to Earth. Is there something on Earth you are rushing back to? He thought about his brother's messages, always cheerful and distant. He thought about his empty apartment, the life he had abandoned. No, there is nothing there. Then stay here. Do something that matters. Before Owen could respond, Reyna entered the room. She looked between Owen and Dr. Yuna. I thought I would find you here. Word is spreading. 3 other young dragons have started refusing fire training. They're trying to copy Kappa's behavior. Dr. Yuna smiled. That is faster than I expected. It is a problem, Reyna said. The military liaison is furious. He says we are contaminating the entire program. The military has enough weapons, Dr. Yuna replied. What they do not have is a way to help soldiers deal with trauma after combat. What they do not have is support for families who lose people in service. Your contaminated dragons might solve problems the military does not even know how to name yet. Reyna looked at Owen. Is this what you want? To turn this into something bigger? Owen thought about Felix, the maintenance worker who had cried in the corridor. He thought about Lily, trapped and scared in the dark. He thought about himself, 2 years ago, running away from grief because he did not know how to carry it. Yes, he said, this is what I want. Reyna nodded slowly. Then I will support it. But you need to prove the concept works beyond 1 dragon and 1 rescue. Give me a chance, Owen said to Dr. Yuna's communicator beeped urgently. She checked it, and her expression changed. We may have that chance sooner than we thought. There is a refugee ship approaching the station. 300 people fleeing a war zone. They will arrive in 6 hours. What kind of shape are they in? Reyna asked. Traumatized. Families separated. Some injured. Most just broken. Dr. Yuna looked at Owen. This is your test. If Copper and those other dragons can help even a few of those people, the council will approve the program. And if we fail, then I go back to the council and tell them I was wrong. That humans are not as special as I thought. That empathy cannot be taught or scaled. She placed one hand on Owen's shoulder. No pressure. After she left, Owen sat with Copper for a long time. The dragon seemed to sense his worry. He climbed into Owen's lap, something he had not done since he was a hatchling. He was heavier now, but Owen held him anyway. We have 6 hours to figure out how to help 300 broken people, Owen said. Copper looked up at him and chirped softly. You are right, Owen said. We just do what we always do. We show up. We sit with them. We let them know they are not alone. The dragon rested his head on Owen's chest, right over his heart. His warmth seeped through Owen's shirt. Outside the training room, the station prepared for the incoming refugees. Inside, a man and a dragon who both knew what it meant to be broken prepared to help others carry their pain. The real work was about to begin. The refugee ship docked at the station with a sound like thunder. Owen stood in the processing center with Copper and 3 other young dragons. Their handlers stood nervously beside them, unsure what to expect. The dragons who had copied Kappa's behavior were smaller than the others in their clutch, gentler, more observant. One was silver, one was dark green, and one was pale blue. None of them had ever breathed fire. Reyna had argued against bringing them into such a chaotic situation. Too much stimulation. Too many unpredictable variables. But Dr. Yuna had insisted. Real conditions, real test. The airlock opened and people began flooding through. Owen had seen news footage of war zones, but seeing the refugees in person was different. They moved like ghosts, eyes empty, carrying children and small bags of belongings. Some were injured with bandages and makeshift splints. Others looked physically fine, but moved as if they were walking through deep water. There were hundreds of them, different species, different languages, but all wearing the same expression of loss that a fight broke out immediately. 2 refugees from opposing factions recognized each other and started shouting. Security moved in to separate them, which caused panic. Children started crying. The noise level climbed to chaos. Copper did not wait for Owen's command. He walked directly into the center of the room and sat down. Then he began to glow that it was the same gentle light he had used in the shaft with Lily, but stronger now. Golden radiance spread from his scales, warm and soft. He tilted his head back and made a sound Owen had never heard before. It was like singing but wordless. A harmony of all the emotional tones Owen had taught him, woven together into something beautiful and sad and hopeful all at once. The room began to quiet. People turned to look at the glowing dragon. The fighting refugees stopped mid-shout. Parents lifted their children to see. Even the security officers paused. The other three dragons watched Copper for a moment, then joined him. They could not glow as bright, but they added their voices to his song. For dragons, sitting in the middle of a room full of broken people, singing about pain and survival and the possibility of rest, an elderly woman approached first. She was hunched and thin, with deep lines on her face. She reached out a shaking hand and touched Kappa's head. The dragon leaned into her palm. She began to cry. Not loud, not dramatic. Just tears running down her face while she stroked Kappa's scales. She said something in a language Owen did not understand, but he knew what it meant anyway. Thank you. I am so tired. I am so scared. One by one, refugees approached the dragons. Some just wanted to touch them. Others sat down beside them. Some talked, pouring out stories of what they had lost, what they had seen. The dragons listened to everything with patient attention. Owen moved through the crowd with the other handlers, offering water and blankets. But mostly they just watched the dragons work. The young father sat with the silver dragon, his infant daughter asleep in his arms. He told the dragon about his wife, killed in a bombing 3 weeks ago. The dragon made soft sounds and rested its head on the man's knee. Two children from different species sat on either side of the green dragon, both silent and staring. The dragon hummed quietly between them, a bridge connecting their shared trauma. A soldier with haunted eyes knelt in front of the blue dragon and pressed his forehead against its snout. The dragon stayed perfectly still, letting the man take whatever comfort he needed, and Copper, in the center of it all, glowed steadily like a small sun. People gathered around him, drawn to his warmth. They did not all become friends. They did not all make peace with their enemies. But for a few hours, they stopped being enemies at all. They were just people who hurt, being seen by a creature who understood. Doctor Una watched from the observation deck above. Owen saw her making notes on her tablet, her expression thoughtful. Hours passed. The refugees were gradually processed and assigned temporary quarters. Medical teams treated injuries. Station staff distributed food and supplies. But people kept coming back to the dragons, stealing a few more moments of comfort before they had to face what came next. Near midnight, a woman approached Owen. She had scars on her arms and a bandage around her head. She spoke in accented standard. The bronze dragon. What is his name? Copper. Owen said. Copper saved my daughter's life tonight. Owen blinked. I think you have him confused with someone else. He has been here in the center all night. No, I mean he saved her life by existing. The woman gestured to a teenage girl sitting with Copper, her hand buried in his scales. She has not spoken since the attack on our colony. 3 months of silence. The doctors said it was trauma. Tonight, she touched your dragon and she spoke. She said she could feel his heartbeat. Owen looked at the girl. She was whispering to Copper now, too quiet for Owen to hear. But Copper was listening, his large eyes fixed on her face. He does that, Owen said quietly. He listens. Where did he come from? What species is he? He is just a dragon. But he learned something most of us forgot. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is sit with someone's pain instead of trying to fix it. The woman was quiet for a moment. Then she said, my species has a saying. The strongest warrior is not the one who never falls. It is the one who helps others stand. I like that, Owen said. She nodded and walked away to collect her daughter. The girl stood up reluctantly, giving Copper one last pat before following her mother. The dragon watched them go, then turned to the next person waiting for his attention. By dawn, the processing center was empty. The refugees had been settled into their temporary homes. The dragons were exhausted, barely able to walk. Owen and the other handlers carried them back to the nursery. Raina met them at the entrance. Dr. Una wants to see you. All of you. She has the council's decision. Owen's heart hammered. This was it. Approval or failure. They gathered in a conference room. Dr. Eunice stood at the head of a table, her tablet displaying graphs and statistics. But her face told Owen everything he needed to know before she spoke. The council has approved the program, she said. Full funding. Immediate expansion. They want 50 dragons trained within a year. 100 within 2 years. One of the handlers let out a breath of relief. Another smiled. Owen just felt tired and grateful and terrified all at once. There is one condition, Dr. Una continued. You, Owen, must lead the program. The council wants a human perspective at the center of this work. They want someone who understands what these dragons represent. What do they represent? Owen asked the doctor. Una looked at him with something like respect. Hope. You taught a dragon to care about tears instead of fire. In doing so, you reminded the galaxy that strength comes in many forms. That sometimes the most powerful thing we can offer each other is presence. Owen looked down at Copper, asleep in his lap. The small dragon who had refused to be what everyone expected. Who had chosen a harder path because it was honest. I will do it, Owen said. Good. Dr. Una smiled. Because 3 more stations have already requested their own emotional support dragons. The galaxy is watching, and they're finally ready to learn what humans have always known. What is that? That crying is not weakness. That grief is not something to be conquered. That we survive not by being strong alone, but by being willing to be weak together. Owen stroked Kappa's scales. The dragon stirred and made a sleepy sound. Outside the window, stars stretched across space. Somewhere in that vastness, people were hurting, and now, for the first time, there would be dragons who knew how to help. Not by burning .by understanding. 6 months later, Owen stood before the Galactic Council and wondered how his life had come to this. The chamber was enormous, carved from black stone that seemed to absorb light. Representatives from 200 species sat in ascending rows, all of them watching him with varying degrees of skepticism. Some had faces he could read. Others were so alien he had no idea what they were thinking. Copper sat beside him, calm and steady. The dragon had grown in the past months, though he was still smaller than others his age. His bronze scales gleamed under the chamber's lights. The council chair, a being that looked like living crystal, spoke in a voice that echoed. You claim this dragon can address the mental health crisis affecting our societies. Demonstrate. Owen had prepared speech. He had charts and data and testimonials from the refugee station. But standing here, facing the cold skepticism of the council, all of that felt hollow as though he told them the truth instead. My sister died 2 years ago, Owen said. I was supposed to protect her, and I failed. After she was gone, I ran as far from Earth as I could get. I thought if I kept moving, kept working, I would not have to feel the pain. But pain does not work that way. It followed me. It waited. Some council members shifted in their seats. Discussing personal grief in a political setting was not done. It was inappropriate, unprofessional. Owen did not care. Copper hatched the day I stopped running. He looked at me and saw something every other being missed. He saw that I was broken, and instead of turning away from that brokenness, he moved toward it. He wanted to understand it. Copper made a soft sound, drawing attention. Several council members leaned forward. You have all become very good at fighting, Owen continued. You have weapons that can destroy planets. You have medicine that can cure diseases we have not even named yet. You have technology one cannot begin to understand. But somewhere along the way, you forgot how to sit with sadness. You forgot how to cry. Emotional expression is inefficient, said a council member with a voice like grinding metal. It serves no practical purpose. It serves the only purpose that matters, Owen replied. It reminds us we are alive, that we can still feel. That loss means something. The crystal chair spoke again. Words are pleasant, human, but we require proof. We require demonstration. Owen had known this was coming. The council wanted evidence. They wanted to see Copper perform like a trained animal, proving his worth through tricks and displays. But Dr. Una had warned him. There was one council member they needed to convince above all others. An elderly diplomat named Counselor Thrain who had been serving for 40 years. His species, the Corvalli, had no word for grief in their language. They viewed death as a simple transition, nothing to mourn. Thrain sat in the front row, his face impassive. He had not spoken during the hearing. He simply watched with dark, unreadable eyes. Owen made a decision. He walked down from the speaker's platform and approached Thrain directly. Copper followed without being asked. "Counselor," Owen said, "Dr. Una told me about your family." Thrain's expression did not change. "My family is irrelevant to these proceedings. She told me you lost your mate and 3 children to a plague 40 years ago, the same year you joined the council. That information is public record. What is your point?" Owen knelt down, so he was at eye level with the counselor. "My point is that you have been serving the galaxy for 4 decades without taking a single day of rest. You work 16-hour days. You have brokered peace treaties, prevented wars, saved billions of lives. And you have never once spoken about the people you lost. Because speaking about them serves no function. They are gone. Grief is illogical. Grief is not about logic," Owen said. "It is about love. It is about the fact that they mattered." Thrain stood up. "I did not give you permission to analyze me, human." But Copper had already moved. The dragon walked directly to Thrain and sat at his feet, looking up with those enormous eyes. He made a sound so soft only the three of them could hear it. A questioning chirp. A gentle invitation. "Remove this creature from my presence," Thrain said, but his voice shook slightly. Copper tilted his head. He reached up with one claw and very carefully touched Thrain's hand. The counselor jerked back, but not fast enough. The contact had been made. Something broke in Thrain's face. Just for a second. A crack in a mask he had been wearing for 40 years. They were called Sella, Draven, Cross, and Nellie. Owen said quietly, "Your mate and your children. Their names are in the public record too. But I bet no one has spoken them out loud to you in decades." Thrain was breathing harder now. "Stop this. You named Nellie after your own mother. She was 6 years old when she died. She liked to collect stones from the river near your home. How do you know that?" Thrain's voice cracked. "Because Dr. Una gave me access to your personal files. Not to mock you, not to hurt you, but because I needed to understand why the most powerful diplomat in the galaxy refuses to feel anything." Thrain looked down at Copper. The dragon was still sitting there, patient and steady, his expression reflecting the pain Thrain had been hiding. "I cannot," Thrain whispered. "You can," Owen said. "You just have to let yourself." The chamber was silent. 200 species holding their breath. Thrain reached down with a shaking hand and touched Coppa's head. The dragon leaned into his palm, making that soft humming sound. And Counselor Thrain, the diplomat who had not cried in 40 years, who had taught himself to feel nothing so he could serve better, finally broke. He did not wail or collapse. He just stood there with his hand on a dragon's head, tears running down his face, whispering names. 4 names, over and over. Copper glowed softly, that gentle golden light spreading through the chamber. Owen stood and stepped back, giving them space. He looked up at the council members. Some were watching with confusion, others with recognition. A few were crying themselves, though they probably did not know why. The crystal chair spoke, its voice softer than before. "We have seen enough. The proposal is approved. Emotional support dragons will be integrated into all council stations, medical facilities, and diplomatic outposts. Funding is granted in full." Owen barely heard the words. He was watching Thrain, who had knelt down now, and wrap his arms around Copper. The dragon accepted the embrace without moving, radiating warmth and presence, and the simple message that it was safe to feel. Later, after the council session ended, Dr. Una found Owen in a quiet corridor. "You took a risk using Thrain like that," she said. "I know, but he needed it. They all needed to see that even the strongest can break, and that breaking is not the same as being destroyed. The program will change thousands of lives now. Med million." Owen thought about Copper, about the small dragon who had refused to learn fire. "He changed mine. Everything else is just extending that gift." They walked together to the nursery where new dragons were being trained. Owen could hear the sounds of handlers teaching young dragons to recognize emotions, to respond with presence instead of force. It sounded like hope that I in the center of the room. Copper sat with a clutch of new hatchlings. They were watching him with the same curious intensity he had shown Owen all those months ago. Learning. Choosing point one small silver, Hatchling walked up to a crying handler and sat down beside them. Owen smiled. The galaxy was learning a new language. Not the language of fire or war or conquest, the language of tears, the language of healing. The language that said, "You're not alone in your pain, and your pain is not something to hide." And it all started with one small dragon who looked at a broken human and asked the question no one else thought to ask. Not how to destroy, but how to understand. Not why humans fight, but why humans cry. And in learning the answer, he taught the galaxy something they had forgotten, that the strongest thing a being can do is not to stand alone in their strength. It is to sit together in their weakness and survive anyway.